And it says we are live. Happy Monday, everyone. So good to see so many of you already chatting away over in our live chat that happens every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And for those of you watching on the replay, I hope one of these Mondays you can come join us live, because we do have this live chat going on over here. But you can always watch the replay and comment and ask questions down below. So how's everybody doing? Oh my goodness. I have big news today. I have big news today. Like, it just happened about an hour ago that I got this news. And I am super excited, but I'm going into now like kind of a super like, oh my gosh moment as well. So those of you who watch the channel and have watched my videos know that this house that I'm living in has had some issues. I mean, it's had some issues from the moment I moved in. In fact, I was going back through my text messages with my current landlord, kind of like looking at this timeline of stuff that I have been through with this house. And it's just been awful. I mean, every single month there's been something, and sometimes it's been huge somethings like the air conditioning going out for a week, or the electrical panel being bad that I had to live with for a month and be afraid every time I plugged something in. I mean, currently in the kitchen, our drawers don't stay shut because the whole floor is kind of slanting. And we've seen some mold under the, I mean, it's just bad. And so I have kind of been putting little feelers out there for what might be available in the area. And I found, well, I wasn't looking that day. I just happened to be on the Nextdoor app. I opened it up, and there was a lady saying that she was going to be renting this. It's a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, but with a den. It's technically like 4 bedrooms. It's 1,000 square feet more than I'm in. It's not as big of a backyard. I mean, I'm on half an acre here, so I'm losing my big, beautiful, well, it's not beautiful. Scratch that. It's not beautiful. My big, dry, dead backyard for a smaller backyard, but it's still a large backyard. It's still big enough for the tortoises. It's got a pool and a jacuzzi. It's got like an RV parking area, which is where my tortoises are going to go. It's got a 3-car garage, and it is not in an HOA. So I've been going through the application process, and you know, being self-employed is a little tough if you don't have at least good credit. I don't have good credit, and I am self-employed, so I had to jump through a couple of hoops to prove, you know, that I could pay the rent and take care of this place. And this morning I got approved. So I'm so excited. And it is literally about 4 minutes away from where I'm at now. So the move won't be so bad. Like when I moved to this house, it was 30 minutes away. And so every day that I made a trip, you know, that's an hour plus unload time. So this literally, I can do, you know, 2 or 3 trips of stuff over. Now I don't have as big of a car anymore, but I can do this move like a little bit of at a time before the actual movers get here. And oh, thank you, Bree. Thank you. I'll take you up on that. But the coolest thing was that, well, number one, when I was arranging to go see this house, my girl who did shipping for me just left, and of course the dogs heard the gate. The girl who, I'm sorry, the lady who owns the house, like I was talking and coordinating, she wanted me to come on a Saturday, and I said, oh, Saturday's really bad. I'm working the vintage market. Are my dogs outside? my dogs got outside? Oh, they'll come back in a minute. The gate's closed. They can't get out. I'm just wondering, how did that front door get open though? Anyway, so she's like, oh, is that this weekend? So she knew all about, Vintage Market. She's a crafter herself. She's done like in-person, flea market kind of selling, that kind of thing. So we kind of connected there. And then when I was actually looking at the house, we're up in one of the upstairs rooms, and I looked down, and in the neighbor's yard, there was a tortoise walking across the patio. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the neighbors have tortoises. And she goes, oh yeah, and we used to have tortoises. And then she's showing me where she set up her tortoise. It was just great. It was great. So she's not moving out till October 1st, which is fine because I'm still on a lease here that I'm going to honor. But so that works really, really perfect actually. So I have time. All right, you guys get back in here. Ozzy, where are you? Both of you just need to get your little booties back in here. Ozzy, kids aren't home, so I'm in charge of dogs. He'll come back. Peanut's back. He'll come back. So yeah, so that was my big exciting news this morning. So there's going to be a lot of kind of the packing of the inventory, the moving of the business kind of stuff that I will include. Okay, he's back. That I will include in my videos, and kind of, guys can follow the story with me, and we'll be well in there by Christmas this time, and able to like have a real Christmas. I'm super excited. I'm super excited. It's such a relief, because I was thinking for a while, if my current landlords don't renew my lease here, and this lady doesn't accept me, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be homeless. I'm going to be out in my little juice box with my tortoises and guinea pigs and birds and my children. And like, I'm just saying. So it's really, 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 really perfect. I know I really would like to own my own home, but I'm a few years away from that. I had a disaster of a divorce that completely destroyed my credit, and I'm working on now overcoming that. So it's going to take a couple of years, plus I have to save up a down payment. But once that happens, yeah, I will be buying something. You love to pack? Oh, Bree, yeah, come on over, girl. We will have lots of packing to do. I've already started making my little checklist of like things I can start packing and doing. Honestly, I have a lot of stuff that I never unpacked in this house. Like all of my antique glass, it's all packed up still. Because I never felt like this was home. This house was never a home. And so I never unpacked it. So it's already, all my glass is packed up. So, okay. So as you probably know, I, along with Tiffany, I think I just saw her over in the chat there, Tiffany at Thrifting Vegas, we rented space at the Vintage Market that is inside the indoor swap meet, the fantastic indoor swap meet is what it's officially called, here in Vegas. And we had our first weekend, and we got to meet some of you who came down and said hi, and that was super fun. It was a little slow, I'm not gonna lie. Tiffany did way better. Tiffany kicked my butt in sales, let me just say that. But I mean, we made our rent, we'll say that, and a little. But all of the vendors were saying like it has been a super slow summer, and this is probably the slowest week, both for in-person and online sales. We are in that bottom out slump, which happens. It just happens. So we kind of came in on that. So we're looking forward to next month. I mean, we learned some things. We kind of learned what the demographic was kind of coming through, the kind of things people were even if they weren't buying it, things that people were attracted to and picking up and looking at and that sort of thing. I mean, it was very interesting to me. I have an EAPG, which is Early American Press Glass. I have an EAPG. The pattern is slewed horseshoe. I have a punch bowl with the big, huge under tray and 10 cups that I have there for sale. And someone was actually interested in that. So I thought, oh, that's encouraging. I think the trick is that I need to find a way to display it so that someone could see it as a functional, usable piece of decor versus like, oh, I need a reason to have a punch bowl kind of a thing. And I've had it for a very long time because I love it so much, but shipping it is just really not an option. Not an option. Do I close my eBay store to move? I do not. I do not. I will, it depends how it goes, but I may or may not use the time away feature just to extend out my handling time a little bit. But no, literally, I'm so organized when I pack my inventory, I can go right to the bin that stuff is in because I pack it by shelf and then I label it. And then when I move, it's still in that bin. And then I can usually get back up and running in a weekend. I have moved my business more times than I want to admit here. But renting, you end up moving a lot, you know, because landlords, they just, whatever reason, they want to sell the house or like in this case, it's just not a good situation, or your husband leaves you and you can't afford the rent. You know, there's been a lot of reasons to move. But I have always been able to pack up my inventory and move on a weekend and get it unpacked and back up and running by a Monday. It's happened every time so far. Put punch in it for the customers with orange slices. Yeah, my luck, then somebody would want to buy it, and then we'd have to figure out what to do with all that punch. That might not be pretty. And I don't, and I'm thinking that's a food item. We probably wouldn't be able to do that. So, but that's a good, yeah. I hate moving. I hate renting too. But it is what it is. It is what it is. All right. I do have really good movers that I found through this market thing because they moved all the showcases from the antique mall, and it's like, oh, well, I got them now. I know who I'm going to call, and they're ready. Can you please show us your red play button you have from YouTube? Is it given? Oh, so this, actually, that was a present that Jordan made for me. So YouTube sends those out when you reach 100,000 subscribers, which I'm a ways away from that yet. But Jordan wanted to celebrate my $20,000 subscriber because it was a big goal. So she had that made for me special. So it has even more meaning because it came from my daughter. All right. Missing my shipping videos. Yeah, I'm working on that because I need to put together some training videos here for my own people that I hire. So I'm thinking, you know, if I actually like film my training videos and then put my training videos out there, then like, you know, more than like my shipping videos that I used to do. So I might put together some very specific like packing and shipping training videos that I'll be sharing soon. Yep. How many kids? How many kids do I have? I have 4. I have 4 children and I have 5 grandchildren. And some of my grandchildren are older than my youngest children. So yeah, do that math. Okay. So the first weekend at the vintage market was, you know, it wasn't what we hoped it would be, but we're still very hopeful that that's going to grow, especially going into September, October, November. December. So we got 4 pretty good months ahead of us. And that's why I wanted to touch on this topic today, because I know many of my viewers, you have space at antique malls, or you set up at flea markets, or you hold your own yard sales. So I wanted to kind of go into a Q&A about that topic, because I have pretty much been doing that my entire life. Before eBay came along, that's what I did. There was no eBay. The only way you had to sell things was to go set up at a flea market or do a yard sale and that. And I was heavy into that. And then eBay came along and it was like, oh, it was great. Didn't I just come out with a co-produced training package? That was on eBay, all aspects of eBay. And I'm talking about just shipping, like just the nitty gritty of shipping. Yeah, and I probably could use some of those videos from that. Do I pay hourly or by the piece for packagers? I pay hourly for who I have now. Yep. Yep. Oh, you have to clear out your showcase next week. So yeah, that's what I am doing is, so I have 2 spaces at a local antique mall, and I'm starting off with just, I'm going to get out of one of them. So I'm going to downsize to 1. And then ultimately, if this goes well, I'm going to get, well, I mean, no doubt about it, I want to get out of there. I'm either going to do the vintage market, and that's going to be hugely successful, or I'm going to open my own something. Like that's where the Danny brain is going. Because I just love retail. I love in-person retail. The thing about in-person retail and why it can be so much more effective than online sales is because you're face to face. You're there one-on-one. If you're someplace where you're working, like a flea market or a yard sale, or like we did, I guess it's basically what we're doing is like a flea market. Or if you are actually down at your space at the antique mall, you've got that interaction with people. You talk to them, you create a little relationship, and then it's the know, like, trust factor that is a big selling point. So if someone knows, likes, and trusts you, they are much more likely to buy from you than somebody they don't know, because then there's no like and trust factor there. And that's kind of, and eBay's gotten a little cold that way. And I hate that. It used to be that we had a lot more ability to interact with our customers on eBay that we don't have now. We used to have our customers' email addresses, and we used to be able to put phone numbers, and like if they had a question, they could contact us, and eBay has removed that. And I don't like that. I understand because they have too many people taking advantage and taking that business off of eBay. So I understand why they did it. I just don't like it. And it does make it a little bit of a colder, more just, it's okay if I end up, not paying you because I don't really know you. And I'm not saying I do that. I'm speaking for those customers that do that. And we get a lot of those unpaid item dispute things going on and all of that. So you're not going to get that in person. Like you're right there with a person, and you can wheel and deal, because in the antiques and collectibles world, there really are no set values. Values of the things that we're selling are pretty much about what is somebody willing to pay for it. What is it worth to them? Some of it is based on what was the original price, but not really. I mean, because you think of it, I'm looking around me. I don't have anything around me right now. How can I not have anything around me right now? All right, play with you. So let's say the original price of this little turtle guy was $10. Let's just say it was $10. Now, is that all it's worth now? Oh, no, indeed. I just love him. Look at his little head. It's not worth $10 now. Now it's based on how many of these are out there available in the market, and what is the demand? How many people want a little bobblehead tortoise guy that Danny's just so in love with? I mean, I wouldn't even research. If I saw him for sale, I'm like, I don't care what the price is. I'm scooping him up. And that's how the in-person stuff is somebody gets something in their hand and they get an emotional attachment. It's like, okay, what are they willing to pay for it? And you can kind of do that wheeling dealing thing. Whereas online, it's like they can go shop and they can go find somebody who has it cheaper. And, so I wouldn't say eBay is not trustworthy. I would not say that at all. eBay is a large corporation. eBay is doing the best that eBay knows how to do to protect both buyers and sellers. And they do a pretty good job. Do I agree with everything that they do? No, definitely not. But I would not, I trust buying on eBay. I know as a buyer on eBay, I'm protected. Buyers are protected, and that's important for getting those sales. So, and you know what? Don't blame eBay for putting in policies for that. Blame the crappy sellers who made it so that eBay had to put in policies like that. It's bad sellers. It's usually people who don't follow etiquette and protocol and rules that make it tough on good people. I mean, because we followed them all along and all of that. It's like the shopping carts going out of Goodwill. Well, they didn't stop people from taking the carts outside because of good people who returned the carts. They did it because of the bad people who stole the carts or left them, out on the street corner. And then they had to, pay money for employees to go round up carts, and stolen carts. So, I mean, we pay for what bad people do. That's just life. That's just life. So don't blame eBay. They're just trying to protect everything that they have on both buyer and seller ends of things. Okay. So you guys are kind of talking. So I guess we can go into a pricing thing. Now, pricing at antique malls is regional. I mean, what I pay here is not what somebody will pay in another part of the country. Like Jeannie says she pays $90 per month for 15 feet of wall, 2 feet deep, plus a 10% fee. And I don't know how that breaks down like per square foot, but it's usually a per square foot kind of thing. Like we pay $3 a square foot here in Vegas. That's pretty much the standard. $3 per square foot. So a 10 by 10 is going to cost you $300 a month. And that's pretty much the standard here in Vegas. It's going to depend on the venue you're at. Super busy, successful venues can demand a higher price if they get you more business and that kind of thing. A 10% commission is pretty much the standard. And then a lot of places are going to ask you to pay a credit card fee on top of that if the customer pays with a credit card, which I think kind of sucks. But you agree to it, you go in, you pick a spot, you sign a contract, and you got to agree to it if you want to be there. So then you have to gauge, are your sales enough? Not just, you guys don't want to just cover rent. You need to cover rent plus your cost of goods and then make profit on top of that. That's the goal, is to actually make money. Some people are just hobby sellers. Some people use it like a little bit like storage and just kind of work out of their space. $1.25 per foot in Florida plus 10%. There you go. Yeah, Florida and California probably a little higher. And I can tell you from the perspective of someone who has run a business where I charged people, we didn't do a traditional, like, here's your space. We did it like Amazon does FBA, and we did it by the cubic inch of what your item, the space it took up, because we did the merchandising, and it was based on a $3 per square foot whatever I'm trying to say right now. And that's based on us paying $1 a square foot for the space we were renting. So it has to do what that owner of the property is paying for the space they're renting, and then they're going to charge accordingly. You're on 5 waiting lists now. Okay, so I was going to talk about that. Like, how do you get into a place that has a waiting list? Every single place is going to tell you they have a waiting list. Do you know why they're doing that? They're vetting you. They are trying to get the best vendors in there for their, not just for the sales aspect, but who's going to have stuff that's going to bring in more customers, that kind of thing. So, Jamie, you make sure you let them know that you have a YouTube channel, you do a lot of social media, you would drive traffic to their mall. Use it, girl. Use that to your advantage, because it's truth. They're getting free marketing from you if they allow you into their mall. And sometimes that can bump you up on a waiting list. I know at the mall I'm at, I brought Carrie in with me, who is, I'm not going to say too much about that, because there's people watching. I don't want to get her in trouble. But let's just say the fact that she was looking for space at a different mall than she was at was a factor to bump her up the list. I'll just say that. I'll just say that. Sorry, Carrie, I don't want to get you in trouble. So that can be a factor. So don't be afraid to sell yourself to that mall owner. And then there's just mall owners who are, they're kind of poopy butts, and they don't understand that. Like, I was looking into getting a space over at a mall that I film at, and they know I film there. And I was told that, well, I got to start out like everybody else and start with a case first. I got to earn my keep. And I was like, no, because I don't need you. You know, it's like, and you got to go in with that. Like, you don't need them, whether you do or not. That's the attitude you have to take. You have to make it like they need you. They need you. Because you're going to bring them money, because it's all about the money. So this other mall over here, not only do you pay that rent, you also have to work 8 hours a week. 8 hours a week. I'm like, wait a minute. Even at minimum wage, ooh, we got some wind coming. Even at minimum wage, that's like another, it's math, guys. That's like another $250 a month. I'm like, no. So that ain't happening. So you just have to find, there's other malls. There's other malls. Let me see if I've missed any questions. I'm trying, like, it's almost kind of a balancing act, like watching the chat and talking to you guys in the camera. So you're at 25. Yeah, the one that I'm getting out of right now is 30 minutes away. And here's the next, there's the next area of point to talk about, is that if you're going to be in an antique mall, while for the most part, you know, you don't have to be there for sales to happen and all of that, you got to work your booth. You got to work your booth. And at least once a week, you need to go in, bring new merchandise, move things around, get the dust off so everything looks fresh. Because if it gets stale, there's regular shoppers, and then there's, you know, like the people just coming through. A lot of these places have regular shoppers, and they like booths that are putting in new stuff. It's just like eBay. eBay likes a seller who's putting new listings up every day. Well, it's the same thing. You got to freshen it up. Even if it's just to go in there and move things so it looks like you brought in new stuff, changes the way the eye looks at things. So if you're not able to do that, you may not have the success you want at an antique mall booth, because it really, really makes a difference. It really does. I have tested that theory. I got a little bit of traction at my spaces because when I opened the second space a year ago, right after we got out of lockdown, and we have a downstairs and an upstairs. Downstairs is much more desirable. It's where more of the traffic is. So when a lot of dealers didn't make it through that lockdown and were afraid to keep their booths open, I grabbed one of those downstairs booths. And then what I did was I brought my new stuff into that booth, and I would take stale stuff upstairs, and I had it on a 50% off clearance. And for I'd say the first 6 months, that worked really well because people were shopping that 50% off sale. But now people have figured out that I'm not really adding a lot of new stuff up there. It's stale. And so my sales up there have gone blah, 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 blah. So that's why I'm like, now I'm closing that one because I just don't have time to keep that kind of cycle going. So Tiger, your favorite part about having the booth was, I'm not sure what the best part was because I missed that part of the conversation. So you can volunteer if you want, but you're there 3 times a week. Plus you're going to be painting some walls, making some changes. Yeah. And the owner is a friend. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Freshening it up. And I see, for me, it was never about making huge amounts of profit because if I spent that same amount of time listing on eBay, I'd make way more money. For me, it is like more of a little bit of a paying hobby because I love to merchandise. It's why I am just itching to have my own retail store again. It's why the vintage market's so fun because I love to merchandise. It's just, I just love it. I love buyer psychology. I like watching how people pick up things and where they go to. And there's a really good book. Oh, wish I could remember who wrote it. It's all about buyer psychology. I think it's called Why We Buy or Why They Buy. Wish I could think of it. Anyway, it is so like if you're into like psychology stuff, it's very, very interesting. The man who wrote the book, he set up a company that studied buyer behavior for stores. He'd go in and do tests. He'd do A/B tests inside these stores, especially like department stores, which were a big thing when he wrote this book. And, you know, which direction do people go? And if you put the tie rack here, did it increase the sales of ties? Or if you put the tie rack over here, I mean, like, it's fascinating. It's a fascinating book. But anyway, I digress into a whole tangent of stuff. But yeah, so working your booth, fresh merchandise, and pricing strategy still holds true. So it's going to depend on, again, your demographic. Like I'm in an area where a lot of tourists come through. There's a lot of high-end customers come through, some very eccentric customers come through. So you can price high there. You can price, and if they want to make an offer, they will do that. Now at my mall, they do allow you to post your phone number up, and I do that. I say, if you have any questions or would like to make an offer, please text me at and my phone number. And that has worked really good. Not every place is going to let you do that. Not every place is going to allow you to hold a sale. Some malls will only let you do a sale when they do a store-wide sale as well. So it's just going to depend on where you're at. But if you're in an area where there's like a median income level and not a lot of, you know, like maybe upper middle class to wealthy people buying things, then you're going to have to watch what you put in the booth and make sure you're pricing for that demographic. Super important. Even if it shows on eBay, it brings more money, then that's when you contemplate, well, then maybe I should put that piece on eBay. And there's a lot of resellers. You know, there's a lot of resellers that shop these malls. So I don't want to sell to resellers from my spaces. That's not my goal. My goal is the end user. Now, you know, if you come down to the vintage market and I know you're one of my viewers and there's something you really want, I wheel and deal. I wheel and deal big. You guys know what my margins are. But I'm talking in general, the strangers that come in, it's like, I do not want, you know, Jomo reseller coming in and being able to scoop up a bunch of stuff because I priced it too cheap. So my goal is to be in a range cheaper than eBay, but not so much that it doesn't make sense that I'm selling it in person versus selling it on eBay. Does that make sense? eBay charges for every post or for every sale. I'm not sure what you mean, Bree. I've lost the conversation over here. What are we talking about? Do I have a cell text number just for business, or do I use my personal number? Well, currently I just have my personal number, but I am really thinking about getting a new phone number and keeping the new phone number completely private, like not giving that to any kind of a business that can put me on a spam list, because holy moly, I had to hunt for insurance, and now my phone's blowing up. You know, people want to sell me insurance, or they want to sell me what was the other thing I just did recently? I can't remember, but you can tell where it's coming from. It's like you put your phone number down for somebody to contact you, and they sell it to a list. I'm getting a little wiser, but the damage has been done on this number. So I'm thinking about just keeping one totally separate. Why They Buy or Why We Buy. Two different books. Oh, Paco Underhill. It's Paco Underhill. Yes. That's the book. Paco Underhill. That's the one. That's the one. Oh, the car warranty. I don't get the car warranty one. I get a lot of stuff in the mail on the car warranty one, but not by phone. Yeah. Oh, and it was a private school. It was like a online private school. Like, they have bugged me so much, and then they sold me out to all the other private online schools. You know, when we were contemplating with whether we were going that route or going homeschool. Oh, so I get blown up with those too. Yeah. What's the ASP on the items in the booth at the mall? ASP, for those who don't know, is average selling price. That's a good question. I've never really sat and looked at what my ASP is. And I'm looking for, I get printouts. Find one of my recent. Here's a June one. Let's see. So in June, it's all over the place because I sold something for $9.99, $50, $9.99, $5, $20, $12.50. I'd say this is my discount booth. I'd say the ASP is around $12 in that booth, and you got to sell a lot of things at $12 to make any money. Now the lower level booth, I would say my ASP is closer to 30 to 40. Because I do have higher end things in there. Yeah. Okay. So we talked about antique mall. Any more questions about antique mall space? And I don't know what the future holds for antique malls. I really don't. It seems like they're fairly busy. It seems like people do want to go antiquing still and all that, but I'm not so sure that the millennials are going to be the ones to keep that business growing. I'm working on a little something. You want me to share? Nobody better steal my idea. No, honestly, I was thinking about, you guys know I want to open a thrift store. That's no secret. But now I'm thinking about, how about a thrift store co-op? Basically, how many people do you know that live in like an HOA or someplace where they can't even hold yard sales, but they got a lot of stuff? So I'm thinking about doing a like rent space to sell stuff and make it one big giant thrift store. See where I'm going with that? How fun would that be to shop? So that's my little harebrained idea right now. You've been seeing a lot of young people in the malls, especially looking at vintage clothing and records. There you go. There you go. Yeah, that's my little mad idea I'm trying to figure out how to make happen. Because I mean, a lot of the antique malls are no longer focused on antiques, let's face it. They're putting in a little bit of everything. So, okay. So any other questions about antique malls? So now you have flea markets. Now the difference between an antique mall and a flea market is a flea market. Well, there are places where the flea market happens week after week after week, and they're like a permanent setting. And then there are like pop-up flea markets. So it's kind of two different things, but basically you are just renting space. Sometimes it's in a parking lot and you're just renting a certain amount of space for that day. So you got to bring tables, maybe a canopy. You got to get set up before everybody comes. You got to set up, you know, be there at like 5 in the morning and be set up by 8 a.m. or whatever. Those can be tough. I did that down in Tucson. Oh man, I don't know if it's still there. Any of my viewers live down in Tucson? Because there was a flea market. It happened out at this big, what was the name of it? It's I don't know if it's a park. Maybe it was a park, but there was built like a community center kind of place. Man, this is so many years ago. And it was huge. It was huge. And I would set up there every weekend. I had a little bread truck. I just told this story this weekend. I bought myself a little unmarked bread truck that I'd put all my stuff in, and I'd go and I'd set up. I'd leave the house. It was still dark out, and go get set up and sell my little heart out, and then pack it all up and come home. Seeing if anybody answered that about like nobody's in Tucson. Yep. Yeah, I wonder if it's still going. It was a fantastic flea market. Now there is a swap meet out there too that I'm pretty sure but that's out on the reservation. But this was like East Tucson. But anyway, used to do that. Oh, you live in Tucson? Do they still have that big flea market out there? I would love to know. I'd love to go visit it because I used to shop it too and find the best stuff. Yeah, Tanque Verde swap meet is the swap meet. This is not that. That's pretty good. Yeah, I don't know what that's turned into, but I used to have permanent space at the Tanque Verde swap meet too. I'm telling you, that's how I used to sell stuff, you guys. Like this is early eBay days, you know. Any theft problems at antique booths? Yes, absolutely. Theft is kind of a big problem, unfortunately, and tag switching and employees making mistakes. So you've got to deal with all of those issues. Now, if you're going to bring in valuable things, then I recommend putting them in a locked case where an employee has to unlock a case and show it. Problem with that, it's like a reserve auction where it kind of inhibits somebody from buying it. So you have to consider that too. Yeah, I've had a lot of stuff stolen, unfortunately. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And in California, they still have flea market. There's flea market. Like, we don't really have a flea market. Like, the flea market is this indoor vintage days that Tiffany and I, that is our flea market here. Like, that's the only one that I know of. I wanted to try to get one started that was every single weekend. I love flea markets. Love them. So there's that form of selling. And those are usually those are cash basis. So, I mean, yeah, you can set up and have a little card reader, but you never know if you're going to have Wi-Fi to do that and stuff. So it's a pretty big cash-based business. So you have to keep some pretty good records. You're supposed to claim it all. Many people don't. The Long Beach swap is easier with an RV. Theft in retail is, I started out, my very first job was working in 7-Eleven. My then future in-laws owned a 7-Eleven, so I got to pop right in and be his manager. And yeah, it's called shrinkage, and it's a huge problem, and it's probably worse today even than it was back then. But yeah, shoplifting, theft, whether it's online or offline, people have always since the beginning of time done things like that, and I don't see them stopping anytime soon. Me too, Susan. I wish there was flea markets here like in California. I think there's not because people are afraid of the heat. But honestly, if you're a local here and you've lived here for a while, you just know during the hottest, like those 3 months, which is basically mid-June through mid-September, you just get out earlier in the morning. And you just be done by noon. Get into the air conditioning. What is the recourse for that? Yeah. It's a write-off. Yeah. Loss through theft is absolutely a write-off on your taxes. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So, any other questions about like flea markets? It's like basically going someplace for an organized yard sale. Because let's talk about yard sales next. I'm a glutton for punishment. I like doing yard sales until you hear me like in the last hour of one and I say I'm never going to do this again. But I do like the selling in person, and it's really nice when it's at your own house and you just pull stuff out and you start selling it. And there's two schools of thought of price everything because people like things to be priced, but then there's also how motivated are you to sell it? Because my theory is if somebody picks it up, they're interested. Then it's just a matter of like what price is going to make it go home with them. And that's where that relationship kind of thing comes in, where you just start talking and you start coming up with a price. But yard sales, I recommend using yard sales to blow stuff out. Like get back on those duds, what you got into it, blow the stuff out and not have to deal with it again. That's my idea of a yard sale. Do I sell on Facebook Marketplace? I'm going to talk about that next. Do you do your bookkeeping end of month or end of year? I have a bookkeeper that I pay that just bookkeeps for me. And I talk to her once a month, to like, she'll say, hey, why are you spending so much money here? Hey, what were these expenses? Kind of thing. So it's kind of an ongoing process with my bookkeeping. But I would recommend, you do your books at least once a month. Setup and breakdown kicks my tail too. Yeah, that's when I realize I'm not as young as I used to be. For sure. You would open a vintage shop, offer classes on how to upcycle, recycle items, but I don't want the comment. You mean the commitment? The commitment? Yeah, the commitment is a little scary sometimes, especially renting a retail space. It's a big commitment. My rent in my big consignment store was $22,000 a month. That check was painful every month. That was a painful check. Gotta say. But it was 24,000 square feet. I'm like, it was not a little space. It was 24,000 square feet. Part of the reason that I'm having to clean up a little credit mess because I'm cleaning up the mess from that whole debacle. I really do miss that store though. It was a great store. I mean, oh my gosh. We had a business plan that within 3 years, we would have had $1 million a year in sales. It was on track. And, the big plan was to make it a $5 million business and sell it. But that didn't happen. So I got to start over. Like I got to put that new plan in motion. Yeah, we made money. We were fully integrated with eBay and retail. Like it was part of it. We had a software designed that we could, it would get processed in, and everybody had like a consignor number. And so that all went into like a SKU. So there was data entry, the stuff coming in, pictures were taken, and then that could push it onto eBay. Oh, it'd be a nightmare now with that because of all of eBay's new stuff. But back then it wasn't as complex. And so it could go on eBay, and then we could still put it out on the floor for sale. And when somebody would purchase it, when we scanned it, it would take it off of eBay. It was so cool. And also it prevented tag switching, because when it was scanned, it would also pull that item, a picture of the item up, because there was pictures. And so nobody could do switch-o change-o on us at the store. So we were up to $30,000 a month in sales within 4 months. But sadly, yes, that was my time machine shopping experience. Yeah, that was the store. Yep, yep. Divorce messes everything up. Messes everything up. So, but I have that experience. I don't regret it. I have that experience that I'm going to build something just as cool with, just as cool. And I'm going to serve this reseller community. And, I want to set up like lookup stations, for people to like look stuff up, like what is the value? I want you guys to be able to buy stuff and make a profit on it. So that's now my direction. That's the big place I'm going after I murder a certain dog. There could be some doggy mortality here in just a moment. So I'm gonna bring all you guys with me, okay? You guys are all coming with me on this journey. We can do it. We can do it. All right, we've got a few minutes left. Let's see. We covered the booth. We covered flea markets. We covered yard sales. Anything else we need? Oh, Facebook Marketplace. Someone asked. No, you guys know I'm just kidding. I love that little girl. And Ozzy's just like, he's just being a good little boy, just sitting here right next to me. So Facebook Marketplace, I used to do a lot on Facebook Marketplace. And then they decided to do the whole shipping thing and make it a market, make it a marketplace. And that's when it fell apart for me, because it's so hard for people to find things just locally now. You can still do it. I buy stuff off of there, but I just didn't want to mess with like the whole shipping part of it. And honestly, people drive me crazy. All the, is it still available? Is it still available? Is it still available? You tell them yes, and then crickets. Like, I just don't have time to mess with that shenanigans. I know some people are killing it on Facebook Marketplace, and hey, more power to you. I'm so glad that List Perfectly will cross-post your stuff onto Facebook Marketplace. Like, I say go for it. I don't want to discourage anyone from doing it. Just for me, it's not a good venue to sell on. Also, because all of my social media stuff with the channel, with the Niche Lady brand, all of that is tied into Facebook. And I don't want to risk that if something wonky happens with something I sell on Marketplace, that my account gets shut down or suspended, or like, I'm protective of my social media accounts because of that. And so that's my reason. But yeah, you guys go for it. Oh, same for you too, Jamie. Yeah, I don't want to ship from, I don't trust Facebook. Somebody said that eBay's not trustworthy. I will take eBay any day over Facebook Marketplace, over Facebook. I don't trust Facebook. I'm not going to go into like a whole lot of reasons why, but Facebook is a little too power hungry and a little too under customer service oriented. Like, if you have a problem on Facebook, it's nearly impossible to get it resolved. So, Facebook over promises and under delivers. I've done Facebook, promotional stuff through pages and things, and they say, oh, you're going to get this amount of traffic. And then when the report comes out 30 days later, it is about a tenth of what they had told you that amount of money was going to get you. Yeah, I don't trust Facebook. I don't like it. I just have to use it. Really quick, before I forget, because this just happened this morning, I am going to be on Missy's Thrifter Junker Vintage Hunter. I can even say that fast now. Woohoo! I'm going to be on her channel on what's the name of the show? I was doing so good until then. At 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to be on her. Somebody help me. Help me, because she's probably watching this now, like going, that's it. You're not coming on now, Danny. You can't even say the name of the show. Vintage Rescue Squad. Thank you. Well, I'm going to be her guest along with Pamela Blanchard, and we are going to be talking. Well, we kind of go everywhere, but we're going to be talking about live sales. So for those of you who are doing live sales, thinking about doing live sales, purchase at live sales, this is your show to come over to at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern on Thrifter, Junker, Vintage, Hunter. That is Misty's, and maybe Bree or somebody can put the link over there so you can go subscribe and set a reminder. It should be up where you can set the reminder for it. What do you mean again? I haven't been on there for a long time. And I talked about eBay last time, and we're not talking about eBay this time. I don't want to talk about eBay this time. I told her that. I want to talk about something other than eBay. Yeah. All right. Junking Data Girl. I want to know what's behind your name, Junking Data Girl. I wanted to share this. I shared this when I was on Pamela's channel the other night. So, sorry guys. Oh, I swallowed wrong. Hate when I do that. And that is tonight. Yes, that is tonight. It's tonight, a few hours from now. Tonight. Yes, tonight, this Monday. I was cleaning out some boxes of stuff out in the garage, and I found this newspaper clipping. So some of you have heard me talk about my Avon story. So before the world of eBay came along, I used to do, I think I've tried every direct sales marketing thing there was. I have sold Watkins. I have sold Amway. I have sold Party Light Candles. I have sold, gosh, Electrolux vacuum cleaners. I did like all the door-to-door stuff. I tried Mary Kay. I just couldn't get into the whole, it was too perky for me. So then I went to Avon. The cough that won't go away now. So I went to Avon, and I found great success with Avon. I loved selling Avon. And then I thought there's got to be a better way to do this. So instead of like handing out all these brochures door to door, well, I did the brochures door to door, and then I would hire somebody to help me do more brochures door to door. And then I had to deliver all these orders. So I'm going, there's got to be a better way. So I looked at the policy, and I knew that we were not allowed to do a retail space. No retail allowed. But you could do, or there was nothing that said you couldn't do, a showroom. So I opened up a little showroom where I would order like samples. People could come in and get their books. They could sample things. They could place their orders. And then when their orders came in, we'd call them and they would come pick them up. I started to bulk mail out the brochures. So I mailed out hundreds of Avon brochures. And I had a wonkin' business. I was all the way up into top, award-winning honor society, all that good stuff. But the newspaper did a write-up on me. You guys are going to laugh at this. So I had Avon's only showroom. It was at 613 West Whittier Boulevard in La Habra, California. And that is my maiden name there. Judge how long ago it was. But wait, there's a picture. And there's me at the counter of my little store there. They called it the only Avon showroom in the world. So there we go. That was me. Now what happened was Avon did not like they didn't like what I was doing. And they started to shorten the time period that I had, because you could order the stuff, collect the money from your buyers, and then pay them. Well, they kept shortening that window on me, and I was selling tens of thousands of dollars, and they just crunched me down so hard because they couldn't close me because there was no policy. But they made it so uncomfortable for me that I finally just said, I'm done. And I closed it up, and they changed their policy right after that, and they included the word showroom along with no retail space. So that I am very proud of that I am responsible for changing a Fortune 500 company's policy. And it was a fun little thing to do. So I have done the in-person retail from about every aspect you can imagine. I know it is a little crazy. And then they started opening their own showrooms, by the way. So they started doing it themselves. So I will just wear that little feather in my cap, even though they kind of shut me down, but it's all good. Yes, it is a Polish name, and that's not even my maiden name. That was my first married name. So the first maiden name is even more Polish. Yeah, I'm Polish. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Moderators, thank you so much over there. Plug your little links over there in the chat, everybody. These people support me and volunteer their time to moderate. I appreciate them so much. So many of them have channels. Go check out their channels. And in fact, I think Julia just went live with her live sale. So if somebody could plug Julia's link over there as well. And I am going to be doing a sale with Julia coming up in a few weeks. I think we set the date, but I will confirm with her. But yeah, so, and then come on over to Misty's channel tonight, where we will be talking about live sale selling kind of stuff. All right, everyone. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for hanging out with me on a Monday afternoon. I hope you have crazy good sales this week. So with that, go be profitable and make it fun. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, everyone.